Hi guys, welcome to Big Lots Official. Today I have the godfather of British strength, probably the most recognisable name in strongman history, the one and only Geoff Capes, 2 times World's Strongest Man winner, incredible athlete. It's a pleasure to have you on, Geoff.
Good morning, Lowell. It's early for me as well as it is for you, I'm sure.
Well, I've got the young kids, so they get me up early these days. But
No, I have to kick the dog out.
You're entitled to a little rest now and again. I'm just going to make sure I've got my screen on big. There we go. Right, Geoff. I've been trying to get hold of you for a while. Obviously, so many people want to hear from you. You're such a staple name in the strongman world. And I want to just get your story, hear about what got you into. I mean, obviously, you had an incredible career before you even started strongman.
I think really it stems back from when I was a kid working on the farms. You know, I mean, I go way back to the fens of Lincolnshire and working on the farms with my father. And he was a gangmaster. And we had gangs of men working in the physical sense on the farms without the mechanisation they have today. Everything was manual, lifting this, pulling that, throwing that. Everything was kind of physical, and I learnt the ways of strength very early on, competing not only against other guys on the farm. I mean, there was some tremendous strongmen on the farm, and still is, because they're never tested and they never compete anyway. But that's where it all started, and I joined my athletics club very early on. I was 9 years old, and just literally went to the local gym. Started training when I was about 9, 10 years old, lifting weights in the gym. I think I was 19. I can skip a few years, and I benched 585 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilos.
That's
At 19, I was squatting nearly 400k, deadlifting about the same. But you know, and strength is relative. I mean, those were pre-Olympic weights, don't forget. Those are the old bar systems. You know, no bend, no spring, no nothing, old plates. Sometimes, you know, train wheels rather than weights.
Yeah.
It was improvisation of strength. And I put the shot, of course, for Great Britain. I went to 3 Olympic Games. I was twice Commonwealth champion. I was 7 times World Highland Games champion. As you say, twice World's Strongest Man, 3 times Europe's Strongest Man, 3 times Britain's Strongest Man, and many other competitions around the world that's, you know, kind of into competitive with the best in the world, traveling to Africa, Japan, everywhere in the world. Pre-WhatsApp, pre-YouTube, pre-everything, you know. And when we had Strongman on TV, on BBC, we were pulling in figures of over 14 million, which you don't really get today because you're spread over so many TV companies and so many different things that happen with the, you know, kind of new age of television.
Yeah, well, like I said when I kind of introduced you, I mean, you are the name everyone thinks of when someone says strongman, particularly in the UK. Everyone talks about Geoff Capes. They're like, you know, particularly of, I think, the older generation. I mean, the younger guys now that are brought up on YouTube and things like that.
Yeah,
obviously, like Eddie Hall is a hero to those kind of guys. You know,
absolutely,
Brian Shaw's, Adrenus. But you go, you know, pre-YouTube. You were the name that you were a household name. I mean, you did obviously World's Strongest Man had the 14 million views, but you were quite famous for other things as well after your strongman career, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I must say this though: shot putters are very strong, very athletic, very quick. In fact, the early winners of the World's Strongest Man were shot putters: Bruce Wilhelm and Reinhardt, and 1 or 2 others, and. I mean, I'm looking at Thor and people like that today. There was guys in Iceland that could put the shot a long way, and also as big as Thor. Yeah. There was Reinhold Dawson, there was Helti Arnason, there was Jakobsen. There was so many Icelander throwers at that time, and not strongmen. Helti and all that come afterwards, and Magnussen's come afterwards. So, you know, I mean, fame is relative. You have to earn it, of course, and you have to protect it. You know, I mean, sometimes I watch things happen today, and I think sometimes the guys go too far with different things. They could handle themselves better, you know, talk better to camera, you know, less aggression outside of the field of competing. And I think, you know, the theory of strongman is channeling strength and aggression, being able to compete at the snap part of a, you know, saying it's your turn now, you're on. You know, it's like putting the shot. I mean, when you think the shot only takes 1 second to throw in the circle.
Yeah.
1 second. So you have to conjure up all this strength element and then explode and compete.
Did you find when you were competing, you could just switch on and then sort of go back into just kind of placid, calm, relaxed mode, or were you one of these guys that needed to stay focused all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I was very focused, obviously coming from an Olympic background. I mean, I was an Olympic athlete that was trained to compete at the highest level against the best in the world. So I had that advantage of being able to compete against the best of the world before I did strongman.
Yeah,
you know, and in the early days, I mean, people like Kaz to me was one of the greatest. You know, Bill Kazmaier. You know, I competed against him so many times around the world, not just on television. And I remember him, you know, he called himself the strongest man that ever lived. And the accolade that he gave me, he said, Geoff Capes is the strongest athlete I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And there's a difference in that strength level. What they do today, you know, you try and people compare, saying what would happen if you competed today against the guys today?
Yeah.
Well, I'll get eaten alive. But the thing is, if I was competing today, I'd be training for today.
Yes, no, very true.
I trained for then. Now, I did strongman. It was only a small part of my competitive season because I earned my money as a professional athlete around the world doing Highland Games. Yeah. And strongman competitions. Well, on a Highland Games circuit, we had 28 weeks of competing around the world, throwing 7 events a day, sometimes every day for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, you become hardened to compete, and your timing, your whole demeanor is you live, breathe, sleep, dream sport and competing.
So back then, how many strongman shows were there? Because obviously now there's a lot more, you know, shows to compete in. And I know you guys, you kind of mix between the Highland Games events and strongman, but you didn't have the seasons like the guys do now with, you know,
we have longer. We have longer season. I mean, not so much in strongman, but we had to fit in everything else.
Yeah.
You know, you had the strongman, you had the British, the Europeans, the worlds. They were the 3 main ones, obviously, that you triggered to do. But then there was the invitational ones all around the world as well. The one that I can never seem to get a video of is the Japanese strongest man. It was an open competition. All the best in the world competed there. And we had 48 million viewers.
Yeah.
And it was done
in
a place called Ito, which is the home of the samurai warrior. And nobody can find that video, and yet it was on Japanese television. And it was organized by the World Strongest Man organization team of the world, Trans World. So, but we did this in Africa, Kazmaier and Sigmarsson and all the guys. We traveled as a team, and competed as a team. You know, it's in Holland, we were in Germany. As I said, you was in Africa, you was in Dubai, you was in Indonesia. I mean, the guys, they compete today in the, I would say, I've got to be very careful what I say, in the televised, organized, mechanized strongest man competitions. And I think where before strongest man was what you saw in front of you on the day, you were very rarely told what you were going to do. Nowadays, every gym's got a strongman section.
Oh yeah, the ability
you
to
train for the same events that you know they're going to be in the competitions.
Yeah, it's become a lot more standardized.
Yeah, standardized. Yeah, I don't like that.
No?
I'll be honest with you. I like the the image of I'm going to say the Japanese guy, the kung fu guy, Enter the Dragon.
Oh yeah. Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee, where you have a gang of guys, you all start at the bottom, you all fight each other, and you fight and knock out the guys as they go along. And there's one man standing at the top. Yeah. I proposed this a long time ago. Everybody starts at the bottom of a mountain, and every part of the mountain there was a discipline of everybody had to do something of. And then you knocked your partner out.
Okay.
And you finished up with the guy at the top, the strongest man in the world.
That would be an interesting contest. It'd be very, very difficult.
It was all rustic.
It would be a fun contest to do. I think it would be hard to. I think that would be a hard competition to really decide who was the best in the world. But I think as a separate contest,
it would be awesome.
It would be fun to watch because it would be so unpredictable.
The best guys anyway. You'd invite the best guys anyway.
Well, you can invite all the best guys
available. Yeah.
Exactly, but you always get these guys that specialize in one event. So you could first round, you could have the best guy in the world knocked out just because he's up against someone that's exceptionally good.
You don't tell them what the events are.
And I think in terms of a spectacle, that would be awesome to watch. But I can't imagine many people enjoying that as an actual,
they would shit themselves.
They really would.
Yeah. And the thing is that today I see a competition. I'll be honest, Lord, what I don't like, and I'll be honest with this, I watched some of the big guys. I mean, I know there's a bit of a rumble going on at the moment between Thor and Eddie. But the thing is, when you organise a competition, that's one thing.
Yeah.
When you then referee the same competition, that is another thing. And you become judge and jury of your own event. And then you open the doors to ridicule and speculation.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've ran a few contests myself, and I always vowed the minute I ran a competition, I'd never compete in my own show.
Exactly.
Because win, lose, or draw, you're going to be in the wrong.
I see too much of involvement of the guys that own and run the competition in the actual competition itself. And I think it should be totally void. A separate analogy, separate referees coming in.
It's a bit like boxing and fighting.
Yep,
they have independent referees.
Another thing I've noticed is guys turning up like Thor with an entourage of 20, 30 people. I turned up with a kit bag and about 5 different pairs of shoes. and that was me.
Yeah, I've often turned up just on my own with the kit bag.
Well, that's it. That's it. You earn your stripes. Yeah. Money in the game nowadays, it's obviously far in extent of what we earn because there's more bigger competitions. I mean, we earn a few quid.
What was the prize money for Worlds back then?
Oh, around about 10 grand.
Okay.
Yeah. But through advertising and promotion and other things, I didn't earn any money hardly from Strongman. Yeah, I earned it through promotion, television, advertising. I was an equity. I was an actor. I did panto. I did this. I did, all sorts of different things. Again, you improvise. You evolve. And how many guys actually earn a lot of money in Strongman?
Not many. There's not many.
And even how many can live on what they earn for the rest of their lives?
Yeah.
Again, I see Eddie, he's got a new house, he's got this, he's got that, and got the other. Unless the cash keeps coming in, it's a hard job to keep it at that level. Best of luck to him. He's earned it. He's earned his stripe.
Well, he's been smart.
He's got a good agent. He's got a good agent.
He's marketed himself well, and he's kind of focusing on acting and other things now. So I think you
have to do that.
I think he was smart enough to realise he can't just rely on Strongman. He needed to look at
exactly.
And then you
realise he was 30 when he retired.
Yeah.
I was 30 when I started doing strongman.
Really? Well, let's talk about your career before strongman, because are you still the most capped British athlete of all time?
Yeah.
That's not a bad accolade, is it?
Well, I've won more internationals than any athlete of all time.
Incredible.
Talking about those other awards, I mean, I'm very proud to be given, the Hall of Fame induction in the Hall of Fame of Strongman, because I felt that I earned my stripes.
Oh, 100%. You definitely deserve to be in that.
The same year, I was given and inducted the Hall of Fame for British athletics.
Really?
So, it's great, but the only thing that ever eluded me, although I made 2 Olympic finals, I never won the Olympics when I was supposed to do. Everybody expected me to do it.
What was your highest placing at the Olympics?
Fifth.
Fifth
In the final.
Yeah, I thought so.
But then you're up against, the Russian, the East German war. You know what I mean?
Did you? How far did you throw? Did you underperform, or were the other guys just?
I underperformed in the final.
Okay.
Not in the qualifying. I was third best in the qualifying. I'd beaten everybody before.
Yeah.
The day of the final of the Olympic final. My best throw of all time is 21 meters 68 in competition.
Yeah.
They're not throwing that much more now. High 21s, 22 20s, the best guys. So even today, I would still be up in the top half a dozen.
Yeah.
And the last time I competed was 40 years ago.
Wow.
So I was way ahead of my time in terms of throwing. And if I'd stayed in athletics and not turned pro, I might have thrown further.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was amateur. Because I went to the Olympic Games in 1980, Margaret Thatcher said that all the servicemen couldn't go, and I was in the police service at the time.
Yeah.
So I had to resign from the police and commit myself to sport. As soon as the Olympics was over, I had to turn professional because I had to live somewhere. I'd have a young family, and I had to earn a living. So I turned pro, did the Highland Games first, strongman and everything else, and the commercial side come in parallel with that. And then I, together with a friend, started a security business. It was one of the biggest security businesses in the entertainment side.
Yeah.
We had business from Aberdeen to Bristol, and I stayed in that for 20 years and then retired at 50.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, competitiveness is everything that I do is a competition.
So it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's business, sport, everything. You want to be the best.
I want to be the best. Yeah. I mean, even my budgerigars that people take them pee out of, I've been at it over 45 years, breeding and showing birds. I've won world championships with my breed. So, even in that, I strive to be the best.
Yeah. Did you still do that? I can hear some birds in the background, I think.
Oh, yeah, they're in the bird shed. I've not opened up yet this morning. Got to be fed up and stuff like that. I've got a couple of parrots in the house.
I think that was something that probably made you quite memorable, though, as well. Obviously, but maybe people take the mick a little bit. But seeing this big, huge man with these tiny little birds, it's something that's visually very memorable. And I've seen old articles of you in papers lifting weights with the budgies out on the weights and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think in strongman, I don't know whether you agree with me or whether a lot of guys agree with me. You've got to have an opposite.
Yeah.
You've got to have something that takes your mind off, the gym, the competitions, and everything else. And I'll just get rid of him. I can't get rid of it. Hang on. Stop it, Polo. I've got it coming from all ways at the moment. What was I actually talking about? The budgerigars.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Everybody's got to have something. I go fishing as well.
Yeah.
I like isolation. I like I like breeding birds rather than showing birds. Although I'm competitive, I like to breed the best.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be the best at breeding and say, look at what I've bred. I don't have to show it. I just show it to people and say, beat that, you know. But again, you know, when I'm fishing, I only fish for pike and stuff. My best pike at the moment is just over 40 pounds. You know, which is nearly 20 kilos. You know,
I did some fishing with Mark Felix, and I was absolutely terrible. So that's I think I caught like a little tiddler, but that was about it.
I think those are more grounded.
Yeah,
you know, have an opposite, something other than.
Do you find when you're sort of you're in the limelight? Obviously, like when you were big time in the limelight, winning worlds, and you know you in advertisements, you're seen by everyone. Was it just nice to just escape and do something normal sometimes, and just be away from people looking at you? And you know,
yeah,
I've done events with you, and even now you still get loads of people coming up to you, you know, wanting a photo, wanting to talk to you.
I think that one of the biggest problems is today life out there is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys get challenged, you know, in a physical sense. You know, I don't, you know, it's the bravado of people, you know, that kind of challenge you if you go out for a meal or you go to a pub with a mate, which I don't do because I don't like that side of confrontation. I know my capabilities, you know.
Yeah.
I was a physical training instructor in the police. I was a black belt in judo and aikido. I fought Chris Dolman in Amsterdam just for fun in front of 5,500 people. You can go online and put Geoff Capes and Chris Dolman fight in Amsterdam and it'll come up. You know, I did everything kind of for fun. But
so Eddie and Thor are just copying you.
Eddie, you know, I think Eddie's kind of one of these guys you don't want to meet in the dark, you know.
Yeah.
And he's streetwise. He's a street fighter, and I'm afraid Thor is going to shit on you, you know, because
you're picking Eddie then, are you, for that?
Oh, without doubt. You know, I like Thor and I like the Icelanders. You know, I've competed against them. I've some very good friends, but Eddie's a street fighter. You know. Yeah. He comes from the wrong side of the tracks, and that's what I like about him.
Yeah.
As a competitor,
yeah,
and I've met him. He's been to my house. We've had a meeting in a pub. You know, I think it's mutual respect. But I don't like it. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
That's what I don't like about, you know, cheating and stuff like that, or the assumption of cheating. But that's the way it's gone. They're going to get a big payday, and that's what it's being done for.
Yeah.
As I said, I don't like that. I don't respect that, and it'll do strongman no good. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my run-ins with Sigmarsson.
Well, I want to ask you about your.
I had my run-ins with Kazmaier.
Yeah,
you know?
Kaz and Sigmarsson were the three guys really that excelled strongman. It took it to new heights. The battles that all three of you had were, you know, very memorable over the years. I remember Sigmarsson beating you one year and saying the king has lost his crown. You coming back the year after to regain the title. Then Kazmaier coming back in, having battles with you all, pure strength. All those big kind of events. You three were huge stars of the sport.
I think the problem is I was the wrong end of the wedge at 40 plus. You know, I think I might have given a better account if I was younger. You know, in my prime. Although I was still pretty strong in my 40s, you know. But, you know, I think...
How old were you when you won your last Worlds?
I was in, 87. It was in 87, and I was 30 in 1980, so I was 37.
37. Yeah.
And I competed until I was 47.
Wow.
You know? I mean, going, like the Highland Games, you know, 7 events a day is quite a grueling event. You get in your car and go and drive to another games the next day for another 7 events. And then another 7 events, you know. And we have the Glasgow weeks, which is 2 weeks solid, 7 events a day.
Yeah.
All around Scotland. And then we took it around the world. You know, there's Highland Games all around the world. as well, Anglo-Scottish societies. But it was a vehicle, and I'm paying for it now physically. Again, I look at Eddie. He's got his freezer cabinet, cryogenics. He's got this. He's got that. Me, it was back home, jumping in a river, going down the abattoir, pint of ox's blood once a week. Just like the Watusi tribe in Africa. And I trained like Wilson the Wonder Athlete in the Hotspur comic, and these were my guides, my inspiration, comic strip heroes: Morgan the Mighty, Wilson the Wonder Athlete, Alf Tupper, the Tough of the Track.
I don't even know these people.
And Desperate Dan.
Oh, I know Desperate Dan. There you go.
But look at the old guys. Yeah. Look at the old time strongmen: Louis Sir, Donald Dinny, and people like that pre-television, and some of the stuff that they did then was mind-blowing. Look at the Dinny Stones.
Yeah.
And Donald Dinny was a great Highland Games athlete, as well as the first man to lift the Dinny Stones over the Bridge of Patak.
Yeah.
And now only the best can do it.
Yeah, it's
only the strongest can do it.
I really want to have a go at them. I've never touched them before, but it's something
they will break your balls.
Yeah.
You think, easy peasy, 353. You've got to lift them between your legs, lock them together.
Well, that's the incredible thing. The way they can walk with them is.
And you do it with a ring on each stone, and you waddle like a duck.
Yeah.
Even Baz couldn't do it.
I'm convinced I could lift them, but then walking with them is going to be something completely different.
Absolutely.
They just look so awkward, and
it's always worth a go. I think they have a championships every year.
Yeah.
Now, because they've become famous after being dormant for so long.
Yeah. It's definitely something I'd like to try.
Yeah, to me, again, I remember the greatest bodybuilders: Steve Reeds, Gordon Scott, the Tarzans. All these are my inspiration.
Yeah.
These were my guide, my inspirations. I wanted to be like them.
Yeah.
I wanted to be as good, if not better than them. But not today. I think you've gone past normal. You're in another realm of strength.
Yeah.
Everybody's pushing now, but I wish you wouldn't lift with straps.
Well, I would be happy not to lift with straps.
Hate.
Yeah,
that is my pet hate, because you call it a world record, and everybody believes it is, but it's a strongman world record.
Well, I did a video recently actually trying to tell people the difference between a strongman deadlift and a powerlifting deadlift, because they are very, very different.
Yeah.
But I would be a big fan of strongman to be without straps. I like grip strength.
But that is strength. You shouldn't be aided. Well, if you strap on and you're lifting on your straps.
Yeah.
You're lifting on your straps. They're at fingertip stretch.
Yes.
And it's the straps that are holding your hands on the bar.
Yeah.
Without them straps, you would not be able to grip that bar.
There's guys I know that without straps they wouldn't lift anywhere near to the numbers that they're lifting.
Exactly. I mean, the time I lifted in Cascais when I won the world back from Sigmarsson, we had a cart with a lot of barrels on the back.
I remember seeing
and there was some world deadlift or world powerlifting champions in that competition. And I beat some of them. I think I lifted at 446 kilos.
Yep.
But I'm a shot putter.
Yeah.
I'm not a powerlifter. I could move weight quick. I could run with weight. I could carry weight quick. I'd out sprint.
Yeah.
You
were always exceptionally fast and explosive.
Yeah. But I was used to doing that. It goes back to the farms. Running with sacks of wheat and all that sort of stuff. I've got a picture of my granddad, who was only 5 foot tall and about 9 stone, going up the side of the windmill with 18-stone sack of wheat on his back. That's my granddad.
Yeah.
My dad was the same. He was broader, big hand. But my mum was 6 foot and 22 stone.
Really?
And my granddad, her dad, was 6'5" and 25 stone.
So it's from your mum's side where you get this.
It's my mum's side, genetically big, you know. But my son, Lewis, who you probably, I don't know if you met Lou.
I remember.
But he finished up, he did strongman a little bit, but he went to America, played American football. Nice. He's one of the best shot putters in the country. He was a good lifter. And his two sons, my grandsons, are the number one in their own age groups in the country in the shot put. So awesome. It's coming again.
Yeah. And do you coach them?
My son would say not, but I did originally, as I coached Lewis. My daughter was British champion as well. I coached her.
Because you still coach now, don't you?
Yeah, I've got a team of youngsters. I coach Strongman in a gym in Stamford in Rhinos. It's a great gym if you're ever in Stamford in Lincolnshire. I've got a group of guys there that want to just train.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of young budding strongmen coming that are competing in local events.
Fantastic.
At the moment. So I keep my hand in.
It's nice to know you're still involved with it in that way.
Well, I'm 70 now, you know.
Still going strong.
I still crave success through others.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a great notch to say, you know, they're saying when they win something and say, Geoff Case is my coach.
Yeah.
So I'm still winning through them.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and I still get a lot of people write to me and ask, what do you think of this? Can you help me with that or whatever? But I do my best and try and encourage them.
Yeah.
But, you know, things are different today.
Oh,
you've got to evolve with time.
Yeah.
You know, it is going to another level.
Oh,
the guys that you've got competing today, I take my hat off to them. I always said, never challenge somebody in something that you haven't done yourself.
Yeah.
So don't ever do arm wrestling, Lol.
I like arm wrestling. I've done a little bit.
Your arm.
I've actually recently done a bit of arm wrestling, but there's so much technique to it. And luckily, I'm at a club where they've really sort of, you know, they've been gentle with me because if you go as a big, strong guy like we are, if you go and arm wrestle someone that actually knows what they're doing, they could rip your arm off.
Absolutely. I mean, I Sigmason not broke my arm, but he tore my forearm in competition in Finland. And it was won by a Canadian arm wrestler.
Yeah.
Who looked like an ordinary bloke on the street.
Yeah.
You know? You know, I always have this saying, never take on anybody that is the best at it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I've been very lucky. They've been gentle with me. They're teaching me technique, and then that strength starts to become an advantage. But yeah, it's one. I would never recommend someone arm wrestle someone randomly in a pub or anything like that.
What is interesting today is when we were competing again, Kaz and all that. Pre-me, Kaz was competing in America, called the World's Strongest Man, 8 Americans, and that was it. You know. Yeah. They loved the title. Of course, they're going to bloody win it with 8 guys. You know? It was the introduction of the Eastern Bloc countries when the wall come down.
Yeah.
And then, but now you look at it, it's impregnated with Latvians, Russians, Poles. You know, but don't forget, I can go back before you and before them guys. I was competing against them as an Olympian.
Yeah,
I was going through Checkpoint Charlie in Berlin before the wall come down. I was in East Germany and Poland and the Eastern Bloc countries before the West saw any of it.
Yeah,
I was training in East Germany. I was probably the first Western thrower ever to train in East Germany.
Really?
And I come back and I said, if ever they get to compete out here, you know, they would do some damage. and eventually the wall come down, and the rest is history.
Yeah, they had some incredible athletes.
They were there, and they still train with old weights and stuff.
Yeah,
and the old rusty
balls.
machines, and And I had a friend in Doncaster Plant Works Athletics Club. He was a miner, and to his training, he was pushing coal carts around on the top of the mine. Took the tractor engine off, and he was pushing the carts around full of coal physically. He was lifting railway axles and wheels because he had no weights.
Yeah.
And he was the best shot putter before me.
I love looking at some of the old guys, the way they used to train, like Paul Anderson, people like that.
Don't you talk about Paul Anderson?
You're a big fan of Paul?
To me, big fan of Paul.
Yeah.
To me, he was probably the most underestimated, the greatest strongman, one of the greatest that ever lived.
Yeah, I when I first got into strongman,
he wasn't measured properly like you are today.
Well, it was different back then. It was more just like exhibition lifts. He was Olympic world.
Absolutely,
genuine.
But he could do
leg strength.
He could do a hack lift on his back and lift a Rolls Royce off the floor.
Yeah, his back lifts were legendary.
We filmed something a long while ago for Midlands Television, and unfortunately, it never got shown. It cost over $250,000 to do. And we were doing all the old strongman feats, Jamie Reeves and one or two others. And that's somewhere on film in somebody's archive, television archive somewhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of the feats that were done then were as good as some of the stuff today. Because we took some of the old stuff and did it.
I'd love to see some of those old, like a backlift or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That would be brilliant to see what the guys now could do on something like that.
Yeah.
It's very different lift.
Yeah. I don't know. I fear for the strongman competitions. It could go the way of superstars. It becomes too much.
Yeah. Because
you see it everywhere on every YouTube channel. And then it kind of dies a death,
So do you see it as like a show rather than a sport?
Now, I've got mixed feelings. Of course, I think it registers to the competitors that it's a sport, but to me, it crosses over into entertainment. It is not pure. In many senses of the word. It has to be regimentated. To become a sport, you have to have 5,000 people that become members of an association. Every association has to agree to have one association to run it. And then you have to have the rules and organisation of the sport itself. Yeah. And then you have to commit to the rules of all sport. And, that's probably why it'll never be a sport. Because a lot of the guys won't be able to agree because there's too many factions.
Everyone has different opinions of what's right and what's wrong.
It's the different factions,
strongman's very much like boxing these days, where you've got different associations, if you like, different rule sets in different federations. But I do think seeing it regularly it's helping it become more popular again. And you look at fighting, look at football. We see football every single day. If you wanted to, it doesn't put people off. But I think we need characters in the sport. The more type of characters, the more people that you can get behind. Because sometimes when you just watch the same guy do something over and over again, yes, it can become stale. But I think when you create actual characters, and that's where I want to see strongman actually look beyond what these guys are just lifting and actually show these people as entertaining people, see their character, see who they are, not just, they're a big strong man that lifts stuff.
I agree totally. You have to create an identity. Yeah. But
maybe that's why John Paul was so popular back in his day.
Well, again, with respect to John Paul, God bless him, but he was managed by, again, the organisation of the events,
Yeah.
and they managed him. They become his manager, and he was fighting them in a competition, not just John Paul.
Well,
you had to compete against the referee, who was one of his actual financial managers.
I mean, the 1990, I think, when O.D. Wilson was winning the contest by quite a long way. I'll always say O.D. should have won that year. But that being said, John Paul was a very charismatic athlete, and lots of people remember the way he acted, And obviously, you've got first-hand competition against him, so you know more than most. But what was it like competing with him?
I loved him in one way because he become a Jekyll and Hyde. You knew him on the outside, and he was very quiet, in his demeanour. He was he then just come this Jekyll and Hyde character. I am a Viking, and I call them fish gefilers, fish eaters. That's Icelandic, but just eating fish, But when we travelled around the world together, then you get to know people. When you get on a plane in Amsterdam, 9 of you in a 12-seater, instead of flying at 20,000, you're only flying at 3,500 feet. Because of the weight of the guys in the plane,
in that situation,
you actually get to know the guys a bit better. But everybody was the same. Kaz was the same. Once you switch him on, that's it. His eyes used to light up. But again, he had a team. He had doctors. He had this. He had that. In a competition, he was no different to what they are today. But again, I was there just with my back. I think everybody. I mean, Thor, he's got his filming side. Now he's one of the biggest extroverts in the game. I think Schwarzenegger was the leader, if you like, of the bodybuilder strongman sect that made it in films. He was the first.
Yes,
apart from the Tarzans, of course, the early Tarzans. But you stereotype the strongman, wouldn't you? I mean, I knew a guy from Sheffield, Graham Mullins, who was a strongman, 6'9".
I know Graham.
Did Gladiator.
Yeah.
And all he did was jump in the arena and get his head chopped off.
Yeah.
But you didn't see him because he had a helmet on.
Yeah.
But then 5 minutes later, you see him in the same film doing another fight scene with the helmet off. But I think big guys are too stereotyped in movies and stuff. Some of them are quite articulate if you allow them to be that, and some of them can act properly, can hold a conversation without being, a strongman freak, and being an extrovert. But tying somebody down, and like you're tying me down, and getting to know me a little bit better, because I can ramble on a little bit.
That's always a good thing.
I was taught by the best. My coach Stuart Story was one of the top commentators for BBC television. In athletics. And he taught me how to hold a conversation without losing it.
For doing things like this, it's great when people can talk, because I like to just sit back and listen to the different stories. So it's always good having someone that when you ask a question and they just say yes, that's never good. It's going to be
one of my little tricks that I tell somebody when I was 16, and I could tie a 4-stone weight to my little finger, and write my name properly on a wall.
Is that true?
True.
4 stone on your little finger?
4 stone. We call them pig weight.
Right.
Because we used to have 2 stones on a machine that weighed 8 stone of potatoes.
Yeah.
And during the day, I used to pick all these up and play with them. I used to get 2 in each hand, just in the grip holes themselves. I'd two 8 stones, and used to play with them, press them, and everything, curl them.
Yeah.
And this is when I was a kid, you know. They've got pictures of me in the gym in Holbeach with abdominals.
I believe it. I
And I was a
believe
bodybuilder. I was well into bodybuilding very early on. I competed. I actually went and did a strongman thing against Johnny Citroni, who was the Mr. Universe.
Okay.
And he come to do a bodybuilding show in Boston, but he did a strongman show as part of the entertainment. And he had a lead cup on the table that weighed over 112 pounds. And you had to pick it up and drink from it and put it down on the table. And I was 16.
Yeah.
And I could do that.
Wow.
And he lifted an anvil 10 times with one press, and then an anchor the other side. I went out there, I could press the anchor and I could press the anvil once. And he did it 10 times.
Wow. Do you like all those kind of like weird strength feats? So I see, even now, if someone's got something new, I want to have a go with it. I want to see if I can do it.
That's it, you know. And sometimes you look at the Basque region in Spain, the rock lifters.
Yeah,
I know the rocks are designed to be lifted in a certain way, but look at the weight of the rocks.
Stuff. Yeah,
I mean, you're talking 400 kilos and more, and they balance them and roll them onto the shoulder. Mm. You know, I mean, these guys, that is what they do.
Yeah,
you know, the Highland Games goes back 700 years. You know, and don't forget, strongman can go back a long way as well. Yeah. You know.
Well, it's all these different feats that have just been merged together, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm twixt between whether I still enjoy it or not. You know, although I was part of it, sometimes I don't like watching it.
Yeah.
And another time I love watching it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's strange because when I was competing for, you know, I've retired now, but my favorite World's Strongest Man contests are the ones before I competed in them. Once I competed in them, it was I was just like, okay, I'm an athlete now. These guys are my opposition. But pre-competing, that's what excited me. They were the guys that inspired me. They were the ones that I looked up to. And it's only really now that I've sort of stepped back from that competitive edge of, you know, when you compete, everyone that you're looking at, you're like, I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him. Whereas now I can enjoy what these guys are doing again because I don't have to have that mentality of you know, being the best and trying to win.
Yeah. What's quite funny is that when I did Strongman, I actually set up the UK Strongest Man together with a friend of mine who owns Truckfest. It's a massive event. And we travelled around the cities, if you like, with a team of strongmen. Yeah, we had all the events on an Arctic. We had a road crew. We had a team of 12 strongmen to choose from. And wherever we went, we also chose the top 2 guys, i.e. bodybuilders, power athletes, from where we set up.
Like 2
In other words,
heroes.
if we went to Stoke, for instance, the team of 8 would come with a couple of reserves. Plus, we used to take on 2 of the local guys. We let them in the competition as part of the local area.
Yeah.
Could you imagine it if we went to Stoke now? And the local 2 guys is Eddie and somebody else. Yeah. You know, and that's how we got we got it on TV on one of these Channel 4s, but we had to pay for it,
right, to
go on television.
Yeah,
we paid the television to film it.
Yeah,
you know, and we got an overall sponsor that sponsored the event. And we got sponsors of every competition in the event. In other words, local people, the truck company used to sponsor the truck pull, and somebody else sponsored this. And then we had a big company that sponsored the event, like Tree Bore Extra Strong Mints.
Yeah.
You know? And and then we sold it to a council, and then we held the event as inside of an event. Like they'll have a gala or a country show, and the strongman would be in that country show.
Okay,
they bought our show.
That's cool.
And we took it on tour.
How long did you do this for?
5 years.
I'm sure I've seen a few of the. I've seen a few of the old
Jamie
shows.
Reeves Jamie Reeves was one of the young competitors in that.
Yeah.
And some of the guys that competed in the early strongman shows.
Is it?
It's all right. No, it's okay. Nobody comes in on the gate. It says "Don't enter."
Okay.
He will buy their ass.
He's making sure you're all safe.
First line of defence, you see.
Yeah. No, I do remember. I mean, obviously not competing, but I remember seeing some of those original UK shows.
Yeah. But again, we had a set program of 5 events because it was on one afternoon.
Yeah.
We had things like truck pull and farmers walk and all that sort of stuff. So the other thing is nobody ever got hurt, touch wood. And that's what I don't like in strongman as well. People getting hurt. It doesn't. Again, you have to push the boundaries. A lot of people today are a little bit sick. They like to see injuries and blood squirting out your nose and head. But I'd like everybody to walk away unhindered and uninjured. Yeah,
we don't. Unfortunately, maybe some people do like seeing people injured. Obviously, I think most of us don't like seeing that.
But we had to compete the next day.
Yeah,
we set up the next day in another show.
Yeah, it's too hard to do like back-to-back shows these days. The shows are way too heavy. You've got to really peak.
Of course they are.
But it was fun. Even when I started, I've said this to many people. I used to be able to compete quite regularly. I competed too much, to be honest. I wish I didn't. But looking back, I say I wish I didn't. I still enjoyed it. It was fun. But the smarter thing to do is be selective about the shows and peak at certain times.
Yeah, you have to be that nowadays.
Yeah.
But like I said before, how many people actually earn a living out of doing strongman?
Well, if you're going to try and earn a living through prize money, it's not the smartest thing in the world to do because you're setting yourself up to get injured, basically. I make that mistake.
But everybody else is also doing the commercial thing. Yeah. In the end, you run out of commercial things to do because somebody else has already done it. Yeah. And like again, you have to be certainly selective. I saw Eddie Hall on the one of the quiz programs. I wish he never went on it.
Why?
He didn't do very well.
Okay.
I think you have to keep away from some of the stuff. You know what I mean? No, I was very selective, but my I suppose knowledge is as old as me now. I've been around a long time, around the right people, and like I said, you have to become more than just a strongman.
Yeah. No, I am.
You have to be. Cassie, excuse me a minute.
That's all right.
There's somebody, a delivery man. My dog will have him if you don't. Excuse me, man.
That's all right.
I'm going to have to tell him to stay out. Stay out, mate. Do not come in. Just put it over the gate there. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.
Is the postman still alive?
Yeah.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
So Geoff, I want you to, obviously you've had like such an incredible career. Take me back to, I mean, this is going to be a hard question, but what was the one most memorable, doesn't have to be strongman, it could be athletics. What was the most memorable time for you, I guess, in your strength/athletic career? Because it's been so long. You've obviously experienced so many things, been to so many places. You mentioned the Japanese competition earlier. what's the one place, one event, one victory that means the most to you?
I think first and foremost to get your first international in athletics, where you receive your letter from the Queen, or from the royal family, saying, "Dear Mr. Geoffrey Capes, you are cordially invited to compete for Great Britain in the forthcoming Olympic Games," or whatever. Sign Philip or Her Majesty the Queen.
That's a nice letter.
That's the first thing, and then you know you've made it. You know. Yeah. Second thing, you actually go to the Olympic Games. Which is like not everybody gets to go to the Olympic Games.
No.
You know, a boy from the backwoods of Lincolnshire, Holbeach, which is 7 international athletes come from that village. From the village, not a town, not a city.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And they all went to the Olympic Games in one way or another. Even a disabled shot putter won the disabled Olympics from the same village.
It's a very talented little area.
Oh, yeah, it is. The next thing, I suppose, is winning your first major title, which is either the European Championships. I won 5 European medals as well in athletics in shot putting, as well as 2 Commonwealth medals. Travel, where obviously in the early days, in fact, I was in the first 747 to land in New Zealand in 1974. When were you born, Lol?
I was born in 82.
There you go. Travel, well, I think, is the greatest knowledge you can absorb in somebody's life. Travel.
Do I remember talking to you saying you don't like flying these days?
I hate flying.
Yeah, I'm sure I remember having a chat with you about that.
The doc used to give me some medication, and half the flights I flew in the cockpit of the plane,
really? And
the other half I can't remember.
Just knocked yourself out.
They knocked me out because they knew if I freaked out on a frigging plane.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No. And flying was the scourge of my career. In fact, I lost so much money as a professional athlete, not going around the world. And then some days I used to go down to the airport and I couldn't face it. I used to turn around and come home.
Yeah.
And I should have been going to South Africa. I sent the lads out there without me, and I'm supposed to be going with them as their team leader and competitor. You know what I mean? So I said, "Oh no, Smithy, you go, mate." You know, one of my mates, Adrian Smith from Corby. He won Britain's Strongest Man.
Yeah,
and he also won, I think, Mr. England in bodybuilding or something like that. He was a great little competitor. But again, you see, I think travel was my key.
Just experiencing different cultures.
And having the knowledge now of where I've been and what I've seen. A lot of people in those days hadn't been.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays it's more common, of course. But for a lad, as I said, from the backwoods of Lincolnshire, flying to New Zealand, you know, like, hey ho, you know.
Yeah.
And then winning.
Yeah, winning in New Zealand.
You know.
That was the first time it was away from America, wasn't it?
Sorry, I'm talking about. I also won the Commonwealth Games in New Zealand as well.
New Zealand is a successful place for you.
As well as Strongest Man. In fact, some of the lads from my village who emigrated to New Zealand, when they were 15 and 16, come to watch the Strongest Man.
That's quite amazing that it's been New Zealand that you won both those major titles.
Yeah. New Zealand to me would be the place if I was young again.
Yeah.
And pre what it is now, because even that is changing beyond reproach, was the place that I'd want to be.
Yeah.
It is very much like England in the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
You know, a lot of bungalows still, a lot of English gardens and English names and English building. And it's a beautiful place, you know.
It's somewhere I've never been to, but I'd love to visit.
Lol, go.
Yeah.
If you ever get an invite, North Island is better than South Island with respect to the Southern Islanders. North Island is subtropical. And Whangarei, Wanganui, Rotorua, all these Maori marvels, you know. Yeah. And I've been so many places throughout the world. I have to be so thankful, you know, I was able to do so through sport, whether it's through athletics or Strongman or Highland Games. You know, I've nearly been everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
And done my thing, you know. I don't know how much longer I've got. I'd love to see my grandkids achieve, you know, they've already won all England schools and stuff like that. I'd like them to go to the next level as a senior before I croak it.
Yeah.
And, you know, extend the legacy. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, I wish them the best of luck. Obviously, you've inspired so many people over the years. You've had, like I said at the start, just such an incredible career, so varied. I guess you don't even know how many times you've competed.
No.
Probably talking thousands.
I think 1 year I competed in about 30 strongest men, 33 strongman competitions.
Jesus.
And then 40 Highland Games competitions in 1 year. In 1 year. The transfer from Highland Games to Strongman in terms of training, I had 6 weeks from the end of the Highland Games season to the beginning of the British, European and World Strongest Man season. I had 6 weeks to prepare. And I always go by bench press, you know, because that to me was always the measure. I was struggling while I was competing in the summer doing 300 pounds, which I don't know in kilo. 300 pounds bench press.
140-ish, yeah.
The time the World's Strongest Man come round, I was pushing nearly 600. In 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's some increase there.
Yeah, and the same with my power, you know, my body weight change, you know. I had to put on 3 or 4 stone. I used to eat like a horse. I had sponsors coming out my ear, you know. I used to eat 5 pounds of meat a day, you know. I was a 15,000 calorie man, you know.
Really? As much as that?
Yeah.
Genuinely 15,000 calories a day?
Absolutely. And
wow.
then you burn it off, you know, 3-4 hours in the gym, 5 hours. Those people that train all day are liars.
Yeah.
You know, you have to.
Or they're just standing around doing very little.
Yeah. Gobbling. You know, I mean, everybody say, "Oh, I spent 3 hours in the gym last night." How much did you train?
Yeah.
I mean, all my lot, they have a certain element of a program. They have to achieve it within an hour and a half.
Okay.
That is their program.
Yeah.
1 hour and a half. If they go beyond that, they've been talking too much.
Yeah.
And they even say things to me, you know, if they're on the floor, right, like this, and I'm looking at it, and they turn around before I even say it. I know if you're die in your own time.
It's one of your famous quotes, is it, for them?
That was one of my quotes. You die in your own time, you know. And you lot over there, they turn around and say, "Stop talking, I know." And they've got me down to a T. You know?
Yeah, they know what's coming.
Absolutely.
So before I let you go, Geoff, I want to ask. I mean, do you watch much Strongman now, or is it harder for you to watch these days?
I go on YouTube to be educated around the world doing different things, and I love all sorts of programs. I mean, that is, to me, it's like going to school.
Yeah. Because
there's so many different things you can see.
Find anything on there now.
You know, I mean, like I say, you look at that fight, Geoff Capes and Chris Dolman fight, Amsterdam.
I'll look it up after this.
You will be amazed. But I YouTube, I'm not following the crap that Eddie gives. I'm following his lifting.
Yeah.
But I'm not following his crap.
Well, do you
I'm
follow any of
following.
the guys like competing though now? Obviously, Eddie's
Yeah.
retired now, so I wanted to get your take on the modern kind of crop of strongmen. Who impresses you? I usually ask a lot of the older guys who impresses them these days, because there's so many talented youngsters coming through that have been inspired by the likes of yourself, and maybe even me. But,
I mean, yeah, go on.
I just wanted to get your take on who impresses you. Who do you think? You look at them and you think either they're up and coming, or maybe someone like
What, English?
English,
Oh,
world.
sorry.
It doesn't have to be
British.
English. British, English, worlds. I don't really mind where they're from.
Strongman boys.
The Stoltman boys.
Yeah. Again, they're doing things, that nobody else is doing to create a world record. But I think the younger one obviously has got the most talent.
Tom just lifted like a ridiculously heavy Atlas stone recently.
Oh,
and he's
of course.
talking of going for a 300 kilo Atlas stone soon.
Yeah. There used to be one at Ashbourne Highland Games that nobody ever lifted.
We'll have to get him over there.
Highland Games no longer exist, but the stone's still there.
Yeah, that would be good. See if he can go and lift it.
Everybody had to compete in the 5 events, and then we had the manhood stones on the barrels, and then there was the challenge stone.
Yeah,
and nobody's ever done it.
Okay.
Nobody has ever done it.
I'm talking to Tom soon, so I'll have to mention it to him.
And I honestly don't know where it is. It's probably in store there somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, obviously he impresses me in the British sense.
Yeah.
But there are so many.
There really is. Yeah.
And they keep churning them out from Poland and Lithuania, and I mean, it's getting the names right.
Yeah.
But the young Polish, is he Polish?
Kiliaskowski?
Yes, him.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
He impresses me.
Yeah.
He impresses me. But again, you go around the gyms in Great Britain today, they're full of Polish and Lithuanians.
There is a lot of Poles, training in the
and
gyms.
There's monsters in the gyms in England.
Yeah. Well,
from places.
Vitatis Lalas lives over in Ireland.
Yeah. When that wall come down, I says, now you watch out, because these guys are unbelievable. And it's proved me right, and they're still coming, and they're still coming through.
How far is it going to go with the level that you think we're going to see people just getting bigger and stronger over the next 10 to 20 years?
Well, you are going to see freaks of nature, of course you are, but they will be limited because they are freaks of nature. You want the all-round specimen that has everything: the athlete, the strength of old Harry, I used to call it, and the athleticism of an Olympic athlete.
Yeah,
get that combined.
Talking to you, I get the impression that you're more focused. You like seeing people focus on all-round contests rather than just individual records.
Yes. I like to see them perform. Again, in a reality sense, would you like to see a strongman in one day challenge like 4 events that they don't know that's coming, a mix, or like it's spread over 1, 2, 3, 4 days? To me, that's only financial. That's only me for the television and filming the show to condense it to a 40-minute show. It takes 4 to 5 days to do.
It's funny,
and you know that, don't you?
Yeah. No,
they don't see that.
No, the people watching don't understand that side of it. But I've got a friend who's running a contest later this year or possibly next year now, I think, and he wants to run it as a surprise event competition. So people will enter, and then you won't find out the events until you turn up, which I think will
That's what I like.
It's a great twist, and you just got to be ready for everything. So that should be good fun.
If I'm available and I've got my invalid scooter ready, I'll be wanting to get that invite.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll get you down there.
I must say that my injuries are kind of trying now.
Have we lost you?
My back's kind of maybe not able too much. You know, I have a scooter which gets me around. I love going to shows, bird shows and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you pay the price later on. You might not, like, with respect, Lol, you might not have any injuries now.
Oh, believe me, I have.
But later on,
yeah.
when you get older, they will be more to the fore.
Of course.
And unfortunately, that's another thing that don't see what we give and how we give it and how we're paying for it later on.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like being seen on a scooter, but that's the only way I can get around.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate being seen because that was never me. They never saw me like that.
Is that what keeps you away sometimes, I guess, now from coming to events?
Yeah.
It must be hard. I can relate because, I mean, even last year I tore my Achilles and I was sofa ridden for a little while. And, you know, I've recovered from that. But at the time I felt very, very depressed. I felt useless.
You're vulnerable.
Yes, very much so.
And you don't know. People say, "Oh, it doesn't matter." It doesn't matter. It
matters to you.
Yeah, it matters to me. And you become isolated a little bit, insular, hermitized, bit of a hermit, you know. But I'm not sad. It's just that I'm not able to do what I'd like to do and what I did do.
Yeah. Well, you think what you were capable of in your prime.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. You know, as I said, I'm 71 this year.
Yeah.
So even if the ticket comes to him up there, you know, I've done everything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, and my mate used to say, "Geoff, what would you like on your stone?" And I said, "Local boy done good."
He's done very good. Absolutely. You've done very, very well. Geoff, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Thank you for coming on. I know,
Thank you.
You know, well, hopefully, you said to me on the phone you may be going to one of the UK's events this year or whenever.
Well, if it happens in Nottingham in November.
Brilliant.
UK's strongest man.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for that. Obviously, it's very difficult right now to really know what's going to happen.
Too far from me.
Yeah.
And I can come home each day, which is obviously what I want to
do.
And can I wish everybody, you know, safe. I'm going to say, be safe in this situation we're in. Yeah. Not only in the UK but in the world, and also to all the strongmen out there, keep safe.
Geoff, thank you so much for coming on, guys. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions for myself or Geoff, comment below. Can these guys find you anywhere on social media, Geoff? I know you're not too keen on the social media stuff.
My son runs Facebook.
Okay, so you have a Facebook account, just Geoff Capes. That's
but my son runs it for me.
Okay, no problem.
It's candle-driven, this event, this show today.
Yeah.
Candlelight.
I know.
You showed me what to press.
I had to.
Press that.
We had to kind of get some instructions for Geoff to get on today. But I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure to chat to you.
Thanks very much, mate.
Take care. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.